I want to start by saying that you look very handsome today.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on. So I'm going to rattle off a couple of scenarios that happen in a restaurant, and we'll see if our listeners and our viewers can guess what links all of these things together. We'll start off by saying the first day back to work after a few refreshing days off, I couldn't care less about what the hell's going on in the restaurant. The last day of work before a few days off, I couldn't care less about what the hell's going on in a restaurant. Your ambivalence to choose a water, like your water preference, infuriates me to no end. Like it's a life or death decision. Pick a goddamn water. You're unwilling to pay for an extra shot of liquor to go into your drink, but you still want your drink to be strong? Right. We greet you warmly, welcome, good evening, how are you? And you respond by saying, Diet Coke. That's another one. You treat restaurant staff like indentured servants. That one's not even a joke. I can't even get funny about that one. Don't be the douchebag that does that. And lastly, if you give us sort of a bad attitude because we've waited on you before and you realize that we don't remember you, get over yourself. So, what's the answer to this riddle? What do all of these things have in common?
Sounds like a lot of reasons you might be giving your server to be an asshole.
Amen, brother. Start it up.
Welcome to the Fancy Bread Podcast, where we talk all things restaurants. I'm one of your hosts, Adrian.
I'm your other host, Ed.
And on today's service note, we want to talk about some reasons why your server is being rude. Let's start it up with a little bit of the definition.
Go ahead.
What is being rude? Some examples as to being rude: being disrespectful, impolite, ungracious, and inconsiderate.
Okay.
And the first reason is simple.
You.
Let me paint the picture a little bit more for that first reason.
Go ahead.
It's more about reciprocating those emotions. I want to invite you to think about it in a different way. Let's say I invite you to my house. You show up, I open the door, I welcome you in, and I say, please take off your shoes and keep your voice down because my neighbors complain a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just walk in, you don't take off your shoes, you don't lower your voice, and you sit wherever you please instead of where I pointed at, or our living room, and when you go and sit in my bed and
on your bed,
and you misbehave.
Right.
And how do you expect me as your host to see you or treat you from that point on? Some might put the face on and say, you know what, I'm gonna take this.
Tough. I take some cojones.
And then next time, I will definitely maybe not even invite you back.
There we go.
But you might put on the face. And sometimes you might say, yo, I was very clear about what I said. This is my house. Don't disrespect my house.
Right.
People have the misconception that because you're spending money in a place that you're somehow entitled to the way that you can behave in a place.
This is a theme that we've come across a lot. It's like we said, more money just means nicer things.
Correct.
So how would you react if somebody came into your house and did that? What kind of host would you play? What role as a host would you play?
Oh, in my house? Ooh,
would you be diplomatic, thick skin, and just say to yourself, okay, I'm not going to invite this person back? Or would you be would you be confrontational?
Depends on the offense, of course. But
okay.
So, some of them will be like,
all right,
okay, I might point those out.
Right.
But if it's something that's of important matter, you might say, hey,
okay,
please.
What if somebody opens your refrigerator? First time guest opens your fridge.
If I didn't said, you please go ahead and do that.
Of course. Opens your fridge.
I'll give him a look like.
That's rude, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's rude as hell.
It is.
Yeah.
The same thing applies to a restaurant. If you think about it from a perspective of this being a house, this being a place that you're invited to, instead of being, oh, this is something that I'm paying for, then perhaps you might be a bit more respectful towards it.
I think ultimately people need to realize, and we're talking about this because they don't and they haven't, and I really can't see a light at the end of the tunnel. So we're in the dark with this shit. That the concept of the customer always being right, those days are over. And that's not like sort of a pessimistic thing. It's not like I'm cynical to human nature. No, it's a mutual thing. Ultimately, in general, when you come to a restaurant as a guest, you need to be respectful. You don't even need to smile. Just be respectful. Pay for your food. Leave in a timely manner if it is deemed appropriate to do so. Because we talked about how restaurant experiences are timed experiences. But that's not black and white. Because if you go to a restaurant and it's a slow night, you may be entitled to just chill. And that's fine. But if it's deemed inappropriate for you to be there for a long time and you still want to be, then you're being disrespectful to everybody else around you. So if you just generally are just a decent person, you eat your food and you leave in a timely manner, you're a decent restaurant guest. You are. We can get into, details about how you can be much better than that or much worse than that. But all these things that we mentioned at the beginning of the show, they're just like the tip of the iceberg. There's millions of reasons because, people are very complicated. So if somebody opened the fridge in my house, I'd be very confrontational. I'd be like, yo, you need to get out. You need to go. Oh, but let me stop you there. What did you want from the fridge? What did you want, a soda? Take it and take it with you. You got to go. That's me. You're a sweetheart. I wouldn't tolerate that shit. There's no way.
Exactly. Again, number one, we're just simply reciprocating your behavior. But it's not always about you. Sometimes we always mess up as well. And one reason why your server might be being rude is that he or she doesn't want to be there.
Oh.
It happens.
Takes
Sometimes we're overworked, understaffed. Maybe it was a friend's birthday. You couldn't get the day off because of whatever reason.
Hungover.
You're hungover.
Let's be honest.
That's lots of reasons. Maybe you wanted to go somewhere special. It was a big event in town, but you couldn't go. You have your responsibility. You have your job. So maybe that server just doesn't want to be there.
And I don't think that's like an excuse, right? Because we're supposed to be professional. But the same way you come into a restaurant as a guest and you act up, we work there and we're humans, some of us, and we act up. It's the nature of the business. I'm not proud of that. But just like I said at the beginning of the show, if it's my Friday, per se, the last day of my work week, and I'm exhausted mentally, and you come up with the same nonsense that I've heard for the whole week, I'm going to have a lot less patience for you than I would normally. And I'm going to try my best not to be an asshole, but it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. Because I don't care how thick your skin is, it's only thick for but so long.
True.
Because we all have a limit. We all have a limit.
It's unfortunate. It is not the guest's fault at that point. What I always say is, you got to put up with it. I have a saying, when the curtain goes up, the show must go on. I'm sure you all have heard that. And it's very true. I always say to myself, I may not want to be here today for whatever reason it is. It might be an off day. We all have off days that our 100% is not where it normally is.
Right.
And that day, you got to still say to yourself, it's not my guest's fault.
Mm-hmm.
So put up your face and go out there. This is character in the movie Waiting, a legendary movie that everybody that works in the industry should see.
Yeah.
And
Should
this
be like
is
a training video.
Yeah, it should be like a training video.
It's an amazing movie.
This is one character that I always identify myself with. And it's this lady who at the back, she's just terrible. She's just being like super hungry and super upset. But when she goes out, she's like, hey, how are you?
Talking about when they ask her about the Sunday.
Yes. And this character, I always think of that because no matter how I'm feeling about my day, it cannot go to it was my guest. So once the curtain goes up, my show must go on.
I would say you're more like Calvin. Remember Calvin, the guy who couldn't pee?
The guy, oh, nah. No.
Who would you say I'm like in Waiting?
Ryan Reynolds will be your character.
That's a little disappointing. It's a little disappointing. We'll get into after this. You know what? After this is over, you and I are going to talk privately. I got some things to talk to you about. So what? Let me ask you. So what are some?
Yes.
What are some like deal breakers for you? What could a guest do that would just shatter your hospitality and is like absolutely unacceptable?
Well, that goes into our number 3.
Let's do it.
When the guest doesn't respect you.
Right. Give me an example.
If a guest just insults you, disrespects you, is just being very blunt with you, just flat out rude.
Right.
Being rude it's actually being confrontational in nature. And if a guest is actually deliberately being confrontational with you, at that point you have to say, whoa, no, sir. Something that and we'll go into things that we can do at the very end. So yeah, I don't allow that, because I'm always very kind, very nice.
Yeah, you are.
The
You're a
opposite
sweetheart.
of that. So if I'm giving you positive vibes, then it's not for you to give me negative vibes. And we have ways to talk about that one. We'll leave those towards the end.
Right.
Before we went into that, another thing that I wanted to say about us not wanting to be there, sometimes guests also don't want to be there.
Those are weird. Those are weird situations.
Sometimes your guest might be having a very long work day, gets home, everybody's upset at home, the wife and the kids, and and now everybody's hungry and they all want to go out, and he doesn't want to go out, or she, exactly, it doesn't matter. Point is, this person doesn't want to be there. This person wants to be at home, wants to be somewhere else, or this person wants to be out in a party, but they have to be there. Sometimes the guest doesn't want to be there. And that's also very tough, because how do you go ahead and change that situation?
I mean, we're servers. We're not magicians. Yeah. Like, I'm not like a neurolinguistic programmer. I can't make you feel a different emotion. I can't make you like shrimp if you don't like shrimp. I can't make you unallergic to gluten if it's like there's nothing I can say. If you don't want to be here, then go home. Or why don't you be a grown man and tell your wife or your girl, just go without me.
Yeah. The same way that a server might have a bad day and not want to be there, you might also have a bad day and not want to be there, but you feel like you have to because of your guest or whoever you're hosting that day.
So suck it up.
So just the same way that we have to suck it up.
Suck it up, dude.
Suck it up.
Can I give you my red flag?
Please go ahead.
You never let me talk, man.
I apologize, but we went back.
Snapping.
Oh.
It's not something that happens a lot. It's not. Don't let a server like fool you. Like, oh, it happens all the time. No, it doesn't. It's very rare that a guest will snap their fingers at you. Even a rude guest won't even go that far. I've gotten snapped at like 3 times in my entire career as a server, and not one of those times did I let go, because for me that's a red flag. Every single one of the 3 guests that snapped at me, I was very, very confrontational about. Extremely confrontational. Because at that point, for me, you're separating yourself from the relationship that we should have, where it's our pleasure to take care of you. And should I make you feel like you got phenomenal service, which is always my goal, you compensate me. No, you're separating yourself from that dynamic, and you're just being an aggressive, rude person. Like I said, it's service. It's not servitude.
Mm-hmm.
So I disrespect those people blatantly. I'm not going to get into the details of what I did to these 3 people, but for me, that's a no-go.
Why do people have this idea that is okay?
Right.
Maybe they think that puts them in a powerful position, but that only makes you look like an idiot. Going back to that situation specifically that you had, you spoke to me about it, and you mentioned how the gentleman snapped at you and you reacted to him. And even when that person left, the other 2 ladies that were on that table, how did they react to that?
Right. So to go back very quickly, this is a time where I'm taking care of 2 women. They were lovely. And 2 men who were sitting separately from them, strangers, joined them after they had finished eating, to try to talk to them, to pick them up, do a little flirting, which is totally cool. No problem. If anything, I'll even assist. I'll do whatever I can to not cock block. But then one of the men who joined snapped, and I lost it. I didn't really go back and forth with him, because it wasn't about me having a dialogue with this person, because at this point, what's the point? What are you going to talk to this disrespectful person about? Mm-hmm. About not being disrespectful? They obviously are that way. So I asserted words at him. I spoke to him very, very fiercely. It wasn't a dialogue. But to get to the point, the women Immediately, the woman was like, "Can we have our check, please?" They closed out, and then the guys left. And then one of the women goes, apologizes to me, and I go, "It's cool. Don't worry about it." And she goes, "But you notice how they left without us?" Because, yeah, that makes sense. If I'm a man in that situation, and I'm going to go approach, women that I don't know, I'm going to be a gentleman. Well, first of all, when I go out to eat, I'm a gentleman anyway. But just in general, if you're trying to flirt with women who you don't know, you have to, even if you are the kind of person who snaps in a restaurant, don't do it in front of strange women who don't know you. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, the guy cock-blocked himself.
Yeah.
Because it's just disgusting behavior in every realm of thinking. It's terrible.
Yeah. So even if you think it's nice, it's not. So I want to take it back to what I mentioned about the server doesn't feel respected by you, or you disrespect your server. Someone dear to me recently went to a pizza making class. And she enjoyed it. She made it from scratch. She put all the ingredients that she wanted on her pizza, and she got to eat it herself. It was great. A couple days pass, and she says to me, "You know what? As much as I enjoy that class, I don't ever want to make pizza again. It's so difficult. I appreciate the people that do it and the job that they put into it. And I'm very grateful that I'm able to afford a nice pizza when I want it." And it goes to show that a lot of people don't respect something until they understand how hard or how difficult it is.
Yeah.
Now, we automatically, or most people automatically, give a lot of respect or credit to jobs that they know or they consider themselves to be difficult, like law or medicine or math. Because let's face it, you all suck at math. Hey, some of us also suck at math. We seen your checks. You don't know math.
Yeah, they never.
Yeah, you seen those stuff.
I would say I would say a good 50% of people don't add their tips correctly.
Yeah,
I mean, they're probably a little sauced up. They're sauced up.
Let's give them the benefit of the doubt.
They're sauced
Let's
up.
give them the benefit of the doubt.
But I mean, those
let's face
jobs. Yeah, but you see, that's not so much an ignorance of the trade. That's more so a stigma of like status, right? People assume a lot of. I mean, and again, we're being very general.
Yeah.
But in this scenario, you would think that those professions, per se, those skilled professions, are difficult because they are things that come with status, right? Doctor, lawyer, et cetera, et cetera. And things that are like, blue collar jobs, for example, I could see how that same person would give it a little less respect because I'm not going to say it's demeaning per se, because that same person who doesn't think it's difficult to be a server, which we're going to get to, it's not going to come to the restaurant and be disrespectful necessarily, but in their mind, they're probably thinking, "Oh, this is whatever."
Yeah.
And no, it's not.
Well, I think it's because of how tough it is or how much you have to study to do such a job. Because I would say some people may think, "Oh, you don't have to go to college to be a server."
No.
People might think that being a server, it's a very easy job and thus not respected.
But it is an easy job. We have to be specific. The same way that pizza is difficult is because the majority of pizza on the planet is average. It's just average. Tasty, eat it, you're done. But the minority of pizza is phenomenal. That's what makes good pizza so good.
Yeah.
It's so rare. That's what makes anything, any commodity, anything that you do, that you buy, that you experience, that's what makes those things so special, because the majority of everything is average. Yeah. That's why it's called average. It's a majority. Yeah. So it is easy to be a server. It's easy to be an average server. It's hard as hell to be a good server. Basically, being a server is like being like somebody who does data entry. You take an order, you write it down, you put it in the computer, food comes out. When people are done, you give them their check, they pay, you run the card, they leave. That is the majority of service.
At its core.
At its core, that is service. But what did we say about cars? What's the difference between a Corolla and a Ferrari, for example? 4 wheels, covered from weather, a steering wheel, gets you from A to B safely. But the difference is features. You come into a restaurant and you're wowed by service. You want Ferrari service, you got to pay for the features.
Yeah.
That's the difference. The difference is in the details. And those details are so difficult to accomplish seamlessly throughout your dining experience that you have no idea. So the same way your friend went to the pizza class and realized how difficult it is, I would challenge anybody who thinks it's easy to be a server in a high-functioning, quality restaurant to do what we do.
Yeah.
And consider it easy after one shift. Just one shift.
You know, they should allow people to shadow servers, like when you do a cop ride-along.
A stage. Yeah. We should do ride-alongs.
We should do ride-alongs.
We should do ride-alongs.
Just shadow me for a little bit. See if you can keep up.
Yeah. Let me put you in front of this table of whales and try not to sweat. Yeah? Try not to sweat when they're staring at you and listening to every word you say. Here. Get the attention and try to serve this 15 top of wild animals. Go earn their respect. Go. Yeah. After you. I'll be right behind you. Don't worry about it.
Because I'm doing back and forth. I want to give you another reason why a server is actually giving you mediocre service.
Go ahead.
He or she knows that for sure they're not getting tipped. Now, we're going to do a full episode later on about service charge, restaurants that add gratuity, etc. We're going to go about all the details into that. But we're going to focus on the restaurants that don't add gratuity or tip to the check. And this server knows for sure you're not tipping. Now, you might be a regular at this spot. And I might have served you and say, oh, I took care of you and you didn't tip me. And you might have served him and he didn't tip you, or she, of course. And then
your non-tipping has been triangulated.
Everybody knows you. And then suddenly you walk in one day and you get sat and Tony here is taking care of you. What's going to happen is that I'm going to tell Tony, yo, Tony, that guy don't tip. And you're going to go there like, yeah, I served him last week. That guy don't tip. No matter what you do.
And Tony's going to be on his last day of work. He's going to be exhausted. And you're going to be demanding. And Tony knows that you don't tip.
No matter what he does, you're not going to tip. If this person gives you their bare minimum, which is, again, just taking your order, bringing you your food, giving you your check, and you leave, don't get upset at that.
Right.
We are paid to serve you. We are rewarded for giving you exceptional service.
Right, because let's be very specific here, okay? Because this can be interpreted in several different ways. Your server may not be outwardly rude to you. They may not be blatantly disrespectful or, whatever. But a version of them being disrespectful to you is saying to themselves, I'm going to give this person the minimum. Because think about it that way, right? I may not be reacting to something. I may not be reactive to you. But I may say to myself, this person doesn't deserve anything. I want them to pay and I want them to leave.
Yeah.
You won't even 2 bites, 2 minutes, checking back to see if they're enjoying everything. I want you to leave in 2 minutes. That might be a form of disrespect in and of itself, which is stemmed from the fact that you want to come to the restaurant regularly and you don't want to compensate people for giving you great service. No problem. Yeah. Eat your food and go.
Back to the first analogy, a person that shows up to your party and doesn't even show up with liquor, but drinks all the liquor. Or a person that doesn't bring snacks or anything, doesn't put money in the pot, doesn't help clean, doesn't do anything, because there's many ways that you can help out. But this person just comes in, does a mess, and leave.
That's a good point.
How are you going to treat that person? Are you, as a host, are you going to pay a lot of attention to that person? Yeah. Are you going to be happy when that guest comes in? Are you going to be like, oh, please come in this way. I'm so glad you're here. Mm-hmm. No. You might not even get invited again.
Right, because it might be like that repeat guest who doesn't tip. We're talking about somebody who doesn't contribute to your life at all. They don't give you money. They don't give you anything from the barter system, which you've talked about. Mm-hmm. Right? They're not the owner of a business that you can frequent and you can get discounts at because they're there. They're not a super fun, interesting person. They tell you stories about how they used to, race on zebras in the Sahara somewhere. They're just bland guests.
Correct. I want to go into things that we can do if we encounter a rude guest or a rude server.
I'm going to try my best to be positive with you on these. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
One thing that I do on my personal service standards is that the golden rule in life, no matter what religion, what country you're in, is very simple. Treat others the way you want to be treated. So I always start very high up. I welcome guests by their names. How are you today? With a smile, the warm welcome. It tells you very quick and very simple, I'm here to take care of you. I'll make sure you're well. So if you react to that in a negative way, well, I guess it just starts to go downhill from there, But I will always end at my 10, where it's always everything is perfect. All my service standards are perfect. I will always start way up there. Well, you don't want to be personable? That's fine. You don't want me to be sociable? That's fine. You don't want me to recommend stuff? That's fine. You don't want me to, but that's okay. I'm still going to take care of you in a perfect way. But I will always start on a high note to let you know that I'm here to take care of you. How can you be upset when someone's smiling at you? That's something that I do.
Right. I'm trying to think outside of myself, like objectively, and how I would feel. It's hard because obviously I'm biased because I know you.
Yeah.
How I would feel if I was sitting down, being me, being served by you.
You would love it.
I don't know, I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you, puppy. I don't know. I'm not interested in all that. I don't,
That's okay. That's why I would go down and I say this person just wants paranormal service. We did a full episode on what it is to be a server. Link's going to be in the description below. It's going to be only audio format, and that's going to be episode 5. Do you know who I am?
Yeah, I don't know. You never think about that? You never think if you would enjoy being served by yourself? We've mentioned this before, but we've never really talked about it.
I would.
You would enjoy being served by yourself?
Because it gives me, I when I go out to eat, like I told you, I enjoy asking servers questions and seeing how they react. It's like me going to classes, teach me something. And sometimes I'm like, you know what? I like how that person did this. And I'm going to add that to my repertoire. Or say, I didn't like how that person did that. I'm never doing that.
Add it to your what?
My repertoire.
Okay.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna try to do one-on-one. As a guest, something that I do as a guest, very similar. I start on a high note. If I go to a restaurant and my server just comes in, says hello, can I get you started with some water? I say something in the lines of, may I ask your name? And I'm like, Steve? Steve, I'll have some still water, please, and thank you.
What happened to Tony? I like Tony.
I like Tony, but Tony is a different server. This is Steve.
Okay.
And by that, I am acknowledging this person and giving this person a place and giving them respect. Every time this person comes back, I call them by their name. Steve, you have a moment? Can you please get this or that? Or thank you, Steve. Once you acknowledge someone, that person feels valued and respected. Every time this server comes to your table, they'll say, "Oh, table 5, they're so nice. They're very respectful." And he or she is always gonna treat you with the same. So if you want someone to treat you well, treat them well. That's something that you can do.
I can't stand you, man.
I know.
I can't fucking stand you, bro. That's all sweet and gum drops and candy canes and all right, I get it. You and I are very different. I go out to eat, I just want to chill. I just want to eat my food, get technical, sharp service, be generous as I can be, and just leave, man.
That's okay.
Like I said, when I go out to eat, I go out to eat. You go out to see how you feel about the energy waves when you walk in and the zen in the room and the color schemes and the lighting. And that's beautiful.
I know.
I love you for it. But I'm not like that, man.
And that's okay.
If Steve comes up to me and he's smiling and hello, I'm like, yo, Steve, just give me a minute, bro. You have any off menu items, Steve? No? Give me a second.
Exactly.
That's it.
And at that point, you say, okay, this person doesn't want any of that stuff. Let's go to service standards. That's it. I'm just going to make sure that my guest is just taken care of. That's it.
That's all I need.
Now, if someone's being rude to you, here's a little thing that you can do. If you're a server or if you're the guest, if someone says something to you that's very disrespectful, ask them to repeat themselves.
Nice.
it's very likely this person's going to take a second and say to themselves, that was very blunt. That was very disrespectful. You can be a mirror at that point. You pretty much let them know.
I like
what
that.
you said there wasn't right.
I like that.
As a server or as a guest, you can always do that.
That's a tactic in sexual harassment. So like if you're a woman working in a restaurant or anywhere really, and a male says something that's disrespectful, and they want to joke about it, you ask them, explain that to me. Why is that funny? Guarantee you, majority of douchebags who want to talk like that are gonna be like, oh shit. I messed up here.
I messed up.
I messed up. Yeah. I messed up here. Yeah.
And then you have to apologize. You have to check yourself, and you have to figure that out.
Check yourself before what?
What?
You have to check yourself before? Before you wreck yourself, man.
No, I don't know that one.
You fucking Boricua. Go ahead. Continue. Go ahead.
Now, when a guest also is being rude, very disrespectful, a good way for you to change that situation is to say, it depends, of course, on how you want to phrase it. You can just say, we are here to assist you, not to be disrespected by you. How can I be of help? Sometimes we have to put people in place.
100%.
And people at that point will understand, wow, I'm being rude. I'm clearly disrespecting this person.
Mm-hmm.
I got to check myself.
I love that stuff, though.
Yeah.
In the circumstances when guests have been rude, I love it, bro.
Yeah.
I live for that stuff. You know what I do? Indifference. I read once where a very, very good tactic for dealing with people who are, getting angry and being disrespectful is to just not react at all. Not react in terms of like, oh no, be strong. Don't let it get to you. No, literally. Just stare at them and let them rant and just be blank. They did this with babies. There's like a mother with a child and she's interacting with the child. And it's normal mother-baby stuff. And then all of a sudden the baby's still interacting, but the mother just goes blank. Doesn't smile, doesn't even blink at the fucking baby. And the baby, you can see the baby's reaction. It's like, what the hell's going on here? So treat people like babies sometimes. Mm-hmm. Someone is ranting at you, I'm just looking at them like this. And a lot of times, just to mess with them even more, after they're done, I go, all right, what are you drinking? Like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, that's like only effective for a certain level of aggression. Obviously,
absolutely.
Somebody gets really, really nasty, then,
yeah,
it's a little different.
Even for someone like me, that I'm always trying to be like smiling and super nice, I had a small issue the other day.
Oh, tell me about it.
I put a bottle of water into the ice bucket, and because it was late at night, the ice is mostly melted. So a little bit of water splash, and it fell into this gentleman. And he was acting like this, like, aye. And I'm like, are you all right, sir? Aye. And I just changed my whole posture. And I'm like, want to make an issue about this? It's like, no, I'm sorry. Like, don't let nobody walk over you.
Come on. You see, that's a general service note, though. A general service note is to know when to push and when to give.
Yeah.
Right? You have to know what battle is worth fighting. If somebody's being disrespectful, you can't accept that. You have to empower yourself to know that I'm here to serve these people, but I'm not a servant. Mm-hmm. Again, service, not servitude. This is not a customer's always right. You could do whatever you want because you're paying money for dinner type situation. No. Those fucking days are over. We're here to take care of you while you are being respectful.
Here's one for the guest. If all else fails, if you don't want to push through it, if you're being nice and your server's not being nice to you, don't try to make it confrontational with your server. Simply ask to speak to your manager and ask the manager, can you just please change my server? A simple thing. That can be done.
That's big.
Mm-hmm.
That server is not getting away from that shift without a sitting down and a talk to.
Absolutely. If your server is truly being rude, you say, may I please speak to a manager? That's it. And when a manager comes over, you say, may I please have a different server?
Yeah.
You don't have to explain nothing. Just, may I please have a different server? That's it. It'll happen.
And I think the cooler you remain as a guest, the cooler you remain during that situation when you're asking for another server, the more effect it has. Because it's like they don't know what the hell's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But any smart manager is going to be like, okay.
What happened there?
Yeah, what happened here?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Well, it's funny that many of these analogies or many of these points that I'm giving work both ways.
Oh,
because
yeah.
if you're having a rude guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to my manager and say, yo, I got to let you know, table 105, be very rude. They don't want to leave, or they're just being very loud. They're sitting in the couch how they're not supposed to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, we let them know. And things we might do in a restaurant is add notes to a guest reservation. Don't sit on weekends. Don't sit on busy times. Don't sit with ex-server. We might 86 a guest for the bad behavior in a restaurant.
Oh, you could get blacklisted easy.
Absolutely. And I've here in Miami, I heard a little of it, but in Vegas, for example, people get 86 from hotels all the time. And they'll say, you're not allowed in any of our properties. This behavior, we don't take it. And it might be something very dumb. You got drunk, you misbehave, and we're like, listen, we don't allow this here. For the safety of our patrons, we don't allow this. And this happens here too. If you misbehave, if you're not nice, we just won't allow you to come in and nice times.
Right.
With the nice tables. If you don't behave, we'll do that too. So the same way that you can talk to a manager and say, can I have another server? A server can also go to a manager and say, can you send somebody else to that table? I can't handle this guest. They're being very rude. They're being disrespectful to me, et cetera, et cetera. So the same coins applies.
Again, like I said, a restaurant experience, apart from it not being about the customer being right anymore, that era is over, is predicated on respect, man. Just respect. You don't even have to be nice. You can be a guest and be cold and uncompromising, but as long as you're not disrespectful, you're going to be allowed back. Restaurant wants your money. It's a business. We may not like you. There's people coming to our restaurant all the time who I can't stand. But I mean, that's my problem. Yeah. It's not theirs because they pay money. They're not making a scene. They're just difficult guests. But like I said, you don't have to be a nice person. You don't have to be a cool guest. The restaurant doesn't have to like you. But if you're respectful and you pay money, you're going to be able to eat at that restaurant as many times as you want.
Yeah. Now, it's important for guests to understand that the server is your host. It's the person responsible for welcoming you in, taking your order, and keeping you informed as to everything that's happening. It's not every problem that happens in a restaurant is the server's fault. If the food's taking too long, it's probably because the kitchen is backed up. Maybe the host sat too many people at the same time, and that's why the drinks are also taking a little long time. However, it's up to your server to keep you informed and say, I apologize for the delay. Your food should take about X amount of time. It's on the way. Right. Or be accommodated and say, can I give you this or that? In the meantime, here's a little something. Just to keep you taken care of. So it goes in those both ways. So not always it's going to be that server's fault. But if your server per se was the reason why your experience was bad, the server was rude, unattentive, ungraceful, etc., as you leave, feel free to ask the host to put in your notes to not sit you with that server next time that you show up. Because that server doesn't necessarily mean that everyone else in that establishment is like that as well. Because next time you come, it happens, they say, they will put you particularly with someone very different from them. Like if someone you served last time and they complained about you because you were in X way, they'll say, I'm going to sit them with Adrian, who's going to give them this time, and let's see if that works.
What are you trying to say?
That you don't have my personality when it comes to serving.
Thank God.
We're very different.
No, yeah, we are. I think we're exact opposites.
So as you walk out, make sure to let them know. And if you really like your server, also let the host know. I would please like to sit with Adrian next time, because it's very likely that when you come back next time in I don't know how many weeks, you'll forget my name. And then you'll be like, oh, it's the guy with the and the hair. And you won't even know how to describe it.
Johnny Bravo.
Johnny Bravo. There you go. If all else fails, leave it on the check. Don't tip, or leave a 1 cent tip. That sends a message. Or even worse, leave a message in your check.
1 cent?
A 1 cent tip.
You've gotten a 1 cent tip?
Nah.
So what are you talking about?
But I read about this, and it sends the message, and it's very true. If someone leaves you no tip, you might say, oh, this person just doesn't tip. But if this person deliberately leaves you a 1 cent tip, you say, oh, it sends a message.
What about not available?
Maybe. But
No,
also,
NA. You've never seen that before?
yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
You can also write a message on the check. As you can send positive messages. That's how people say thank you, great service, etc. You can just say you were very rude. Put it in there. If it really is that, put it in there.
No, that's not really that effective. I mean, I guess it's effective because it affects the server personally.
Correct.
But if I serve you and there was just miscommunication between us and you misinterpreted my personality as being rude, again, perception is reality. That matters.
Yeah.
But then if you write on my check, oh, the server was a dick or I hated you, dude, I'm just gonna reprint the receipt and throw your receipt out, and management will never know. All right, that's not a solution.
I do.
You leave it in your checkouts?
I mean, I rarely get that.
No.
Only one time I had a bad note, and I showed it to everybody. Remember that? Remember the guy said, "Oh, I told you it was my girlfriend's birthday. You didn't do nothing," and he wrote, "Fuck you." And I showed it to my manager.
That's classy.
Yeah, it was classy.
That's classy.
So, and when I particularly told this person that we don't do anything for dessert.
Right.
If you order dessert, we'll put a candle on it. Anyway, whatever. But
that's little league. That's little league stuff.
but it's different for me than it would be for us. But I would do understand your analogy. But to the point is that sometimes you can act as a mirror or a way for you check yourself. Sometimes we don't know if we're being rude. It happens to people. I have tons of guests, or on occasions I have recently had this guest who I believe in her core she thought she was being nice.
Right.
But she wasn't. She was not being nice. Even the guest across from her, he was giving me this face like, help me. And I'm like, I'm trying, but she's terrible. You know, she's one of these guys that it was the guy's birthday. And she's like, yeah, but it's all about me.
I know what you're talking about. You're talking about 101.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Look at that. Let's stop for a second.
Yes.
That's how bad this woman was. We worked together that night. And I remember you only spoke about her for 10 seconds. Or I only heard about 10 seconds. Or I only chose to listen to you for 10 seconds. Either way. I remember what table she was sitting at.
Yeah.
It's that one, right?
Yeah.
Holy shit, bro.
Yeah. So, but sometimes you don't even know that you're being rude. You might think that you're not. So having that little check, that says, yeah, you were being rude, makes you think, oh.
It's a wake-up call.
It's a wake-up call.
It is a wake-up
you know
call.
what? Maybe I do need to
I would
check
agree.
myself.
That is, it's not completely useless.
Mm-hmm.
It is a wake-up call for the server under the right circumstances. If perhaps there was a misinterpretation, like I said, and then I get a message from you that says you were being rude, then, I don't want my guests to think I'm rude. Like, opposite of you, I don't really smile much when I serve people, and I push it to the limit with my assholeness. But, yeah, if I get a note that somebody says that you were rude, I'm like, oh.
I want to finish it with this one. If you're going to be rude, we put up with it.
We put up with it.
Put up with it. Don't forget to tip. And that's our show. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe. Share with someone you think might enjoy the show. Also, let us know in the comments below if you've been rude to a server or as a server been rude to someone and why. Thank you for listening.
Tip your server.
And we look forward to hosting you again real soon.
Take care, everybody. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe.